just say what everybody here knows. Mike Pence will never be president. Nice guy, not a leader.
Mark?
Well, I don't know if Mike Pence will run for president in 2024, but I don't think Matt Gaetz will have an impact on that. In fact, I'd be surprised if he was still voting. It's more likely he'll be in prison for child sex trafficking by 2024. And I'm actually surprised that Florida law enforcement still allows him to speak to teenage conferences like that. So I'm not too worried about Matt Gaetz thinks.
Damn, I think what Matt Gaetz thinks is, why am I on fire suddenly? But anyway, yeah, no, that was Mark Short, former chief of staff for Pence, absolutely destroying Matt Gaetz there. And there's some issues for Matt Gaetz in that video. One, being like the bold guy who predicts that Pence won't be president. Oh, very, very bold prediction there, buddy. I think everyone, including Mother, knows that Pence is not gonna be president. But second of all, yeah, he is still under investigation for the human trafficking. And it's one thing for Mark Short to imply that he should be worried about that. There's also some evidence that maybe Matt Gaetz is still worried about it, because we just learned that he was one of 20 Republicans who voted no to reauthorizing an anti-human trafficking law on Wednesday. Perhaps trying to preemptively save your butt, buddy, that you're against this. So the law was the Frederick Douglass Trafficking Victims Prevention and Protection Reauthorization Act. It still passed 401 to 20. So voting against it and making it fail is one thing. That looks terrible. But voting against it, knowing it's gonna pass anyway, just to make sure we know that you do not want these protections for victims of human trafficking, that you don't want more investigations of it, that's like needlessly transparent about your own history and what you're worried about. Everyone is waiting to find out what's gonna drop when it comes to Matt Gaetz. And while we're waiting, what has dropped are some TikTok videos. In fact, from apparently the sister of his fiance. So this is Roxanne Lucky, who is sister to Ginger Lucky, the still fiance of Matt Gaetz, as he's potentially facing charges for sex trafficking and possibly pedophilia. So she had quite a bit to say about her experiences with Matt Gaetz and other people Matt Gaetz had talked to about her. I'm gonna let her explain it in this video.
I also want to clarify that this is a very long story that I'm going to have to sum up very quickly. And I also want to put it out there that this is from my point of view. There's two sides to every story, and I acknowledge that, but this is what I experienced. So last summer when I was living in DC and interning there, basically Matt had just started dating my sister, and he had a friend that I had met and kind of knew that was around Matt's age, like had a kid, had been divorced, and this guy kept telling me like, oh, Matt told me I should ask you out, like that we'd be great together, yada yada, and I would just make jokes and be like, haha, like I'm 19, like that's weird. And I just thought he was kind of joking, and then he definitely like started being more vocal and saying creepy things and being like, I had a boyfriend at the time. He's like, oh, when you break up with your boyfriend, let me know, and so you can have a real man, just creepy stuff. And he later like texted me and was like, oh, sorry about what I said. I just wanted to get Matt off my back. Like Matt told me I should ask you out, yada, yada, yada. So I decided to confront Matt about it and be like, hey, why were you telling your friend to ask me out and like be like, that's just weird and creepy. So come Thanksgiving, when I finally had the chance to see him face to face, I was straight up with him and I was like, what is up with this? Why did your friend say this? Very much was like, wanted to hear his side of the story, and he just immediately got so defensive, started yelling at me and my mom. He called me a narcissist, was just 1,000% gaslighting me. I literally was just like standing there asking him like, are you gonna listen to what I have to say? And he went full lawyer on me, like, I don't have to listen to you, I don't have to answer your questions, whatever.
Wow.
So she went on to call him creepy and a literal pedophile, although she then finessed it to the ephebophile or whatever term they use to segment out types of pedophiles or whatever. But she has more that we'll get to. Jason, what'd you think about she's spent time with him and apparently guys he knows.
Yeah, God, I love flippant sister-in-law story time.
I love it. I mean, it's so good. And God bless Gen Z. God bless these kids for taking to TikTok, the tick of the talk, to really let people have it. Her and Claudia Conway are probably best friends, kikiing, just giving all the tea of what goes on in their dysfunctional households. But where there's smoke, there's fire. And of course, I love how she said Matt Gaetz went all full lawyer on me, trying to gaslight me. Good for you using the word gaslighting. Again, the kids know what's up.
They do.
But where there's smoke, there's fire. And if you listen to all of it, there's nuance there. There isn't it would be different if she was trying to make this up as she went along. And it's really hard to piece together a story like that as nuanced as what she's saying. So of course, I mean, and more, this is very serious, what she's saying, at least for her. This has affected her in some way, shape, or form. But she's Roxanne's now 20 years old. She's a young woman who's like, this is what's going on, you guys. This is what's happened. And she's been around him enough to also highlight different accounts of what she called, in her own words, creepiness. So, and TikTok, man, once it's on TikTok, God help you.